Stop buying brand new boats that lose 20% of their value the second they touch the water. A bare, rotting 1970s Seacraft hull routinely sells for $5,000 before a single repair is made. Here are 9 specific hulls that mechanically outlast modern builds and mathematically outpace standard marine depreciation. Number 9. The Seacraft 20 Potter-Built. Produced between 1968 and 1980, this 20-foot center console proves that artificial scarcity exists in the marine world, driven entirely by designer eras. Hulls from the 1970s are valued exponentially higher than models built just a decade later, purely because factory manager Bill Potter oversaw the production. Potter utilized a highly specific fiberglass layup technique to construct his variable deadrise hull, creating unprecedented structural integrity that modern mass-produced boats struggle to match. This mechanical superiority birthed the Restomod Premium. Today, sport fishing purists will hunt down these bare, rotting 1970s hulls, happily paying $5,000 for what looks like fiberglass trash. They strip them down to the stringers, reinforce the transoms, and pair them with modern 4-stroke outboards and digital electronics. Once fully restored, a Potter-built Seacraft 20 flips for $60,000 to over $80,000 on the open market, completely bypassing standard depreciation. Number 8. The Hatteras 41 Convertible. This is the poster child for the cult of the overbuilt. When Hatteras debuted this model in 1960 as the first all-fiberglass sport fishing yacht over 40 feet, engineers faced a massive problem. They simply did not know the exact tensile limits of early fiberglass. To compensate for their complete lack of long-term structural data, they made the hulls incredibly thick. We are talking solid fiberglass layups that are often an inch thick at the keel. Modern boat builders, heavily focused on cost saving and fuel efficiency, use thin cord hulls that simply cannot match this brute force construction. Because of this massive material investment, a 1960 Hatteras is functionally immortal. Originally priced at $38,000, these over-engineered tanks are now being bought up by offshore purists who want a hull capable of smashing through heavy Atlantic chop. Historically significant, fully restored models now push well over $200,000. Number 7. The Boston Whaler 17 Montauk. Think of this as the marine equivalent of a vintage Ford Bronco. Produced primarily through the 1970s and 1980s, its extreme appreciation is driven by pure, rugged utility. You have probably seen the vintage marketing campaigns where they saw the hull in half to prove it floats, but the actual mechanics behind this are far more important. Boston Whaler pioneered a specific closed-cell foam injection process. They pumped liquid polyurethane foam into the cavity between the inner and outer fiberglass skins, which chemically bonded the two layers together as it expanded and cured. This created a rigid, unified, incredibly buoyant structure that simply will not sink. Original 1970s and 80s hulls that cost between $3,000 and $5,000, brand new, now routinely sell for $25,000 to over $35,000 when repowered with modern outboards. Number 6. The Grand Banks 42 Classic. Produced from 1966 all the way to 2005, this vessel completely dominates the recreational trawler market. Its high valuation is entirely driven by a massive demographic shift toward the slow cruising community. As fuel prices rise and offshore sport fishing becomes wildly expensive, buyers are retreating to heavy displacement hulls designed for extreme fuel efficiency and long-haul coastal navigation. The Grand Banks 42 delivers exactly this, utilizing a hard chine, semi-displacement hull that provides massive interior volume and stability. Modern shipyards find it prohibitively expensive to manufacture a vessel with this much teak and solid fiberglass today without charging well over $1 million. Because modern equivalents are so financially out of reach, buyers are aggressively targeting the secondary market. Refitted 1970s and 1980s models are holding incredibly steady values between $150,000 and $250,000. Number 5. The Ferry Huntsman 28. Some hulls bypass standard marine depreciation purely because they enter the realm of cultural artifacts, benefiting from what the classic market calls pop culture provenance. Built in the 1960s, these British Deep V wooden cruisers achieved legendary, almost mythical status after being featured heavily in the 1963 James Bond film From Russia with Love. But they were not just movie props. Ferry Marine utilized a hot molded construction method, taking multiple layers of thin wood veneers and baking them together in an autoclave with synthetic resins. This resulted in a lightweight, incredibly strong hull capable of serious offshore racing speeds. Because of this dual threat of cinematic history and genuine offshore capability, the Huntsman 28 operates in a totally insulated financial bracket. Prime European examples of this classic cruiser now regularly sell for over 100,000 British pounds, which is roughly 125,000 US dollars. Number 4. The Hinckley Bermuda 40. Produced from 1960 to 1991, this is the sailboat equivalent of the Hatteras 41, benefiting from the exact same cult of the overbuilt. As one of the very first major production fiberglass sailboats, Hinckley engineers leaned into massive, over-engineered hull thickness to guarantee structural integrity against ocean swells. The financial reality of the Bermuda 40 is simple math. You physically cannot build a hull with this much raw resin, hand-laid fiberglass, and solid bronze hardware today without completely bankrupting the shipyard. The material costs alone would make a modern replica unsellable. Recognized instantly by their sweeping shear line and substantial overhangs, these yachts are aggressively hunted by traditional sailors. Originally priced around $40,000 in the early 1960s, well-maintained Bermuda 40s now reliably sell for $130,000 to well over $200,000, depending on the refit. Number 3. The Chris Craft Capri 19-foot. Buyers of this vessel are not just purchasing a boat, they are paying for the extinction of handcrafted mahogany. Built in the 1950s, the Capri represents a level of intricate craftsmanship that is economically impossible to mass-produce in the modern era. The manufacturing shift is stark. Today, automated robotics and molded fiberglass allow builders to pump out center consoles by the thousands. But robots cannot replicate the complex woodworking, the steam bending of wooden ribs, or the exact hand-laid varnished mahogany planks of a 1950s runabout. Because the labor pool required to build these boats no longer exists at scale, the surviving models have become highly liquid assets. These iconic American runabouts retailed for under $4,000 in the 1950s. Today, Concours condition models regularly exceed $60,000 to $100,000 at classic boat shows. Number 2. The Bertram 31 Flybridge Cruiser. Produced from 1961 to 1986, this specific model is universally recognized as the pioneer of the modern deep V hull. Designed by Richard Bertram and Raymond Hunt, it was built with a 24-degree dead rise from bow to stern, explicitly engineered to smash through heavy offshore chop at high speeds without pounding the crew to death. This mechanical pedigree created the ultimate resto mod premium. Unlike the vintage car market where matching numbers and all original parts dictate the highest price, marine buyers want modern reliability inside a classic, indestructible shell. Offshore purists buy these heavy 1960s fiberglass hulls, strip them completely down to the bare stringers, and mate them with high torque, modern outboards or twin diesels. A 1960s model, originally priced around $18,000, now commands upwards of $150,000 to $250,000 after a professional refit. Number 1. The Riva Aquarama. Produced from 1962 to 1996, this Italian mahogany classic completely abandons standard marine economics because it is purchased by ultra-high net worth individuals as floating art. The Aquarama features twin engines, a seamless panoramic windshield, and a meticulously handcrafted wooden hull that commands immediate attention on the water. It carries undeniable provenance as the undisputed favorite of 1960s royalty and global celebrities like Brigitte Bardot and George Clooney. When an asset reaches this level of cultural and aesthetic saturation, it stops being a boat and becomes an alternative investment vehicle. Originally sold for $15,000 to $20,000, the financial trajectory is staggering. Today, restored models consistently fetch between $500,000 and over $1 million at prestigious events like R.M. Sotheby's Classic Auctions. According to marine insurers like Haggerty, top-tier classics in this specific bracket appreciate at a reliable 5 to 7% annually. Which of these classic hulls would you choose to strip down and restore? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into assets that beat depreciation.